Mauritanian is an upcoming legal drama that stars Jodie Foster. It stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Tahar Rahim, Shailene Woodley, Zachary Levi, and it is directed by Kevin McDonald. This film is based off of the real-life memoir called Guantanamo Diary, and in that memoir, it depicts and details the experiences of a person named Mohamedou Salehi. Mohamedou Salehi, in the wake of the 9/11 terror attacks, was arrested and brought to Guantanamo Bay, and he was held there for 14 years without actually being charged. So this movie is kind of about how that story happened. Really, the meat and potatoes of the story is about the prosecution versus the defense. It's about Jodie Foster and her team trying to represent Salehi and trying to prove that the government does not have enough evidence to hold him. And then it's about the prosecution, led by Benedict Cumberbatch, trying to prove that we can kill this motherfucker, basically. Like, they're going for the death penalty. I gotta say, I actually had never heard of this story. I didn't know anything about it going into the movie. I saw it at an early screening, and so I watched it, and I was just kind of like, holy shit, this story is actually kind of interesting. It's a very intriguing story about one man and his struggle, how much he suffered in the wake of the paranoia and the fear surrounding 9/11. Not necessarily told in the most interesting way, but an interesting story nonetheless. This is one of those films that plays out exactly the way you would think a legal drama would play out, except it's elevated by the people involved. It's elevated namely by the performances. They all elevate the material beyond what it could have been, and they all bring their A games. I feel like if they brought their B or their C game, this movie definitely wouldn't have been as good as it was. Jodie Foster was great. You don't really get a lot of insight into her as a character, but she is exactly who she is from the beginning of the film to the end of the film. For the most part, she's there to do her job, and she does it very well. Benedict Cumberbatch is doing something interesting with his accent. I'm not entirely sure what it is. It's kind of a southern drawl type of thing. I guess the guy that he's playing is more of a southern military man or whatever. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty jarring. At first, I was just kind of like, holy shit. Is it gonna be this bad for the whole movie? Really, I would say that the performance that stands out the most is Tahar Rahim. He gives a powerhouse level performance here. He's actually the best performer in the entire film, and he's the one thing that no matter what is going on, you're always interested in watching him and his scenes because he has the most interesting story to tell, the most interesting character, and thus he is the most interesting to watch. So every scene that he's in, you're like, I need more of that guy. Beyond that, I think the director did a pretty decent job here. He does play with the aspect ratios a little bit visually when they go back and forth between different stories and different points in time throughout the story, and I thought that was kind of a cool choice that did add something, at least stylistically, to the movie. The base of my criticisms for this movie really lie in how they told their story, how they progressed the story, and about how paint by the numbers the movie actually felt. It feels very bland at times. It feels by the book. It feels very procedural. You know, it feels very normal, like been there, done that type of shit. There's nothing about this legal procedure that really stands out about it other than the performances. The performances, especially by Tahar Rahim, are the thing that keep you watching. But if it's not for that, the movie just kind of feels like every other legal drama you've ever seen before. They kind of have a lot of moving parts here, and it's not all executed. It doesn't all come together the way that you think it should in a movie like this. The movie has a split focus, and it tries to focus equally on the prosecution and the defense, and then it tries to focus on Salehi and his story. And unfortunately, Salehi's story is the most interesting here, but unfortunately, you're only given bits and pieces of that throughout the film as they continue to build towards the third act. It just feels like a, okay, can we get to the finish line type of thing. I had to step back from the movie and look at it and say, if it weren't for these great actors and actresses, would I really care all that much? This would be a great Wikipedia page, not necessarily a great 2-hour movie. Having said that, I did somewhat appreciate the Mauritanian. I thought it was a solid effort. I'm gonna put this one in the Daily Planet. It's a decent movie, could have been better. Guys, those are my thoughts on the Mauritanian, so tell me, are you looking forward to it, or what's the best legal drama that you've ever seen in your life? I feel like most of you are gonna say A Few Good Men. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.